Ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our special council meeting of Thursday, November 20th, 2025. I will now call the meeting to order, and we acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. 2.1 is the approval of the agenda for today's meeting. The recommended motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Thank you very much, Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Strong. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Motion's carried. I will point out your direction to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Members are required to declare a conflict of interest prior to any discussion on the matter. 3.1. Today, before we go any further, I will read a little thing that I've written up here for today's meeting just to go over and refresh things for people. The reason for today's meeting is for Council to consider a request by the Joggins Volunteer Fire Department to review the decision of the Chief Administrative Officer to refuse to renew the registration of the department in accordance with the Fire Service Department registration policy. Today, we will hear from staff as to the reasons for the decision, and we'll hear from one representative of the department. This is a public meeting, but there will be no opportunity for members of the public to address Council on this issue at this time. This meeting will not take the form of a debate or question and answer session between staff and the department. Members of Council may have some questions of staff or of the department representative. All questions and answers must be directed through myself, the chair. I appreciate that this is an emotional topic, but it is critical that emotions are kept under control. Interruptions or inappropriate behavior of any kind from the gallery will not be tolerated and will result in the room being cleared of everyone except for those involved in today's proceedings. Council does not plan to make a decision on this review today, just so everyone knows. Rather, it is likely that the final decision will be made at next Wednesday's regular Council meeting. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, item 3.1 is the presentation of the staff report by Director Alan Cole. Alan, you now have the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I'd just like to, Council has the package that I delivered yesterday. The first part of the package is the report itself, and the second part is the attachments that go to the report. During my presentation, Your Worship, I'll be referring back and forth to the attachments. Each attachment is identified in the top right-hand corner with its attachment number, and those attachments are referred to in the body of the report. So, a summary of the Fire Department registration review process is on the first page under the heading process. So our fire departments apply for registration annually, Your Worship, and upon receiving those registration applications, the Director of Protective Services, myself, I review the registration applications and make a determination of whether or not they fit within the provisions of Section 294 of the Municipal Government Act, which lays out the requirements for a department being registered. And if satisfied, I recommend to the Chief Executive Officer to register the department. If I'm not satisfied that the department qualifies for registration, then that's the recommendation that I make to the Chief Administrative Officer, who then renders his decision on the matter. So, as I said, Section 294 of the Municipal Government Act is the governing legislation for registration of fire departments. This is on the second page of the report, Your Worship. There are 4 criteria set out in the Municipal Government Act, and of those 4, 2 are pertinent for today's discussion. The first is that the municipality is satisfied that the department can provide the services that it offers to provide, and the subsection D, the municipality does not provide the same services for the same area. Those are the 2 items that are at issue today, Your Worship. Each of the 4 requirements under 294 are required for registration. So in considering whether or not to recommend registration of the department, there were a number of factors considered. And those included, for the most part, the following. The fact that there were a number of complaints against the department, that there were findings of poor training, lack of professionalism, lack of judgment, and conduct contrary to the code of conduct set out in the fire or the fire services bylaw. So I'd like to summarize those events and lapses, Your Worship. The first is in relation to a structure fire that occurred in April 2023. After the structure fire, there was a complaint regarding the department. Goudreau and Associates, who you may recall, Your Worship, did our fire services review. They were retained to investigate the actions of the department at the fire. Their determination was that the procedures and activities of the department did not meet the recognized standards of a fire department. As a result of receiving that report, Your Worship, I wrote to then Chief St. Peter, and that is attachment number 2, where I summarized the report and I also attached a copy of the report for Chief St. Peter to review. But the summary of the findings of the review were that the areas of specific concern, and this attachment to the numbered paragraphs at the bottom of the first page, Your Worship, that there were lack of steps to prevent loss of suction in the fire hoses from the tank. The members of the department didn't understand how to properly prime the pumps. There was no incident command system in place. There was no accountability. Not all firefighters had tags. Those tags are to make sure that everyone going to a scene returns from the scene. The foam tank was empty, or nearly so, when they arrived at the scene. And those were the primary concerns raised in the Goudreau report. Chief St. Peter and I met after that letter was sent to him and reviewed the details of the report. The next item of concern was a controlled burn on a structure in Joggins that was in September of 2023. That controlled burn, which was on an abandoned residence in the community, was conducted without proper permits, without taking away hazardous materials from the structure, and on a windy day. As a result of that, there was damage to the property next door, both smoke damage and damage from flying ash, which caused burns to trucks, trampolines. The lawn had a number of burn marks in it. The house was filled with smoke. And as a result of that complaint, staff conducted an internal investigation of the circumstances. The results of that investigation, Your Worship, are attachment number 3. And then in 2024, in April 2024, there was a grass fire started by the department, which was not sufficiently flagged for the community. There were members of the community that were unaware and thought that it was a naturally occurring grass fire, which caused them concern. And when one resident approached the firefighters at the scene, they were met with rude and unprofessional conduct, or unprofessional behavior. That complaint letter is attachment number 4, Your Worship. The next is the complaint from the Joggins Fossil Center, where apparently not for the first time, members of the Joggins Fire Department attended the Joggins Fossil Institute and purported to be there to conduct a fire inspection, for which, basically to summarize, they have no authority to do. The municipality has fire inspectors, none of whom are members of the Joggins Volunteer Fire Department. The letter of complaint from the operations Manager, or Director of Operations at the Joggins Fossil Center is attachment number 5. And I would just like to highlight in the third to last paragraph, the words of the director, who says, "At this point, we're tired of the local fire department misrepresenting their role of authority in relation to our site and operations." So it was a recurring issue that they had. So the next section, Your Worship, is in relation to improper conduct. Attachment number 6 is a complaint from a member of the public who advised municipal staff that they had seen repeated drug use by members of the department prior to and during emergency callouts where they're driving municipally owned apparatus, which obviously is a cause of concern. There are other issues raised in that complaint regarding mental stability that were also of a concern. Attachment number 7 is a complaint regarding a member of the department attending a call in a side-by-side with 2 infants without seats, helmets, or any other safety precautions. The complainant, who is also a firefighter, complained that that was completely unprofessional conduct, and staff are in agreement with that. That complaint is attachment number 7, Your Worship. Criminal charges, item number 6 on the report, Your Worship. In 2024, Dylan St. Peter, who was then a member of the Joggins Fire Department, was charged with sexual interference and sexual assault on a person under 16. At the time those charges were brought, I had asked the fire chief to arrange for the younger St. Peter to step away from the department until the matter was resolved by the courts, to go on temporary leave. Now, I just would like to point out that that request was not an assumption of guilt in any way, but the vast majority of the call-outs from all of our fire departments, including the Joggins Fire Department, are medical calls. Many medical calls result in, by their very nature, intimate physical contact with the patient. And it's quite reasonable in staff's view that someone who receives that intimate physical contact in the while being provided medical assistance doesn't later find out that that person was a sexual predator. We're of the view that it's quite a reasonable position, and indeed it's quite normal for someone to take a leave of absence or step out of active duty when there are allegations of that nature. So I just want to emphasize it was not an assumption of guilt in any way. So then, Your Worship, the most recent events were the assault charges against Christopher St. Peter and Dylan St. Peter. Christopher St. Peter, who's then the fire chief, was charged with 3 different offenses, which were possession of a prohibited weapon, assault with a weapon, and possession of a weapon dangerous to public peace. Dylan St. Peter was also charged with assault in that incident. And just to back up, Your Worship, back to the sexual assault charges, this goes to the confidence the municipality has in the department as a whole. Rather than Dylan St. Peter stepping aside until those charges were resolved, which they have not been yet, He was promoted to deputy chief. So the department did nothing to protect the public, in our view, and in fact rewarded the firefighter by promoting him. So as a result of the assault charges for both of the St. Peters, which were laid on or about October 13th, I requested that Christopher St. Peter, who's then the chief, step aside from his duties. That request was approximately 5 days after the events were public, and in the meantime, the department had done nothing to attempt to have the chief step aside from his duties, which goes to the same issue of the municipality's confidence that the department as a whole would take any responsibility or corrective action in relation to any of the members. Next, Your Worship, is the issue of administrative capacity. Now, all departments in the municipality receive municipal funding for operational and capital expenditures. Some of that funding is by way of an operational float that the departments use for minor expenditures on a monthly basis. All departments are required to provide an accounting through bookkeeping records and bank statements of the use of those funds. The Joggins Fire Department is apparently unable to provide that bookkeeping. They have been as much as a year behind. Last year, the accounting department received a box of receipts and bank statements unreconciled, uncollated, unmarked, and it took weeks for staff to go through and do the bookkeeping reconciliation on that. The bookkeeping information from August of last year was not received until March of this year. The inability of the department to do that administrative work is a burden on municipal staff, and the other departments do not have the same issue. So the next issue, that goes to the question of the ability of the department to provide the services that they're offering to provide. Subsection A of Section 294. The next is whether or not the municipality provides the same service to the same area, subsection D. Now, as council has seen from the Protective Services monthly reports over the last few years, the River Hibbert Fire Department automatically responds to virtually every call that the River Hibbert Fire Department responds to. The two departments essentially act as a single department when it comes to call-out responses. The two departments are 4.9 kilometers apart, according to the Goudreau report. I haven't actually checked the distance myself, but I believe the number. The attachment number 8, Your Worship, is a location map. It looks like this, showing the location of all of the 16 fire departments in the municipality, plus Amherst and Oxford. And you can see the spacing of the other departments. No departments are anywhere close. The next two closest are, I believe, 14 kilometers apart, not 4.9. The next section, Your Worship, is other considerations. So, fire apparatus. Now, fire apparatus is fire trucks, pumps, hoses, side-by-sides, rescue trucks, that sort of thing. Because we have two departments that are less than 5 kilometers apart, we need to duplicate all of the apparatus that would fit any department anywhere else in the municipality. It's doubling up, in my view, needlessly. The Joggins Fire Hall is in need of extensive repair. Now, in August of 2023, Chief St. Peter asked that the municipality have its engineer have a look at the building in relation to repairs. That was an email that he had sent to me in August 2023. As a result of that, we retained an independent engineer. My thoughts were that if anything comes out contrary to a minor repair, we would want an independent engineer, so there's no allegation of bias toward the department. That independent engineering assessment was done by Baxter Engineering and is attachment number 9 to the report, Your Worship. And in essence, it says that the fire hall requires structural repairs and refurbishment due to crumbling concrete support walls, and that the fire hall is not suitable to be used as a fire hall. Some of the issues found constitute a hazard, and it's not economically feasible to repair the building. That's, as I said, attachment number 9. The next issue is what happens when we essentially combine the 2 districts. That's distinct from combining the 2 departments, Your Worship. I want to make that clear. We're combining the districts. Now, having said that, there have been discussions going back 15 or 20 years about combining the departments. There have been a few studies and some meetings between departments and municipality long before my time. So attachment number 10 is a table that shows every fire department, and it's ranked by, in this case, by assessed tax value, but also has a number of residential units and the estimated peak population, square kilometers, apparatus members, call-outs per year. And the combined River Hibbert Joggins Fire District, you'll see, Your Worship, sits squarely in the middle of our other departments. It sits in between Wentworth and Westchester, statistically. The next attachment is the Google map image showing the 2 fire districts. And there's a blue oval in the middle which represents the primary population area for the 2 districts. So even though there looks to be quite a large area to the southwest, there's no population there.
The Down Shore area.
Yeah. And then that is surrounded by the DNR district. So on the basis of all of that, I recommended to the Chief Administrative Officer that the fire department not be re-registered as a fire department. That report to the CAO is the final attachment, and it summarizes much of what I've gone over today, including that the chief and volunteers are not well trained, instances where the department has placed persons or property at risk, such as controlled burns without permit, without removing hazardous materials, causing damage to neighboring property, a lack of administrative capability, numerous complaints about inappropriate behavior, that the department itself did nothing to hold any of the fire chief or the deputy chief, or before he was deputy chief, as a member of the department, to hold them accountable for their actions. The current Joggins or former Joggins Fire District is served by the River Hibbert Fire Department. The fire hall is in poor repair and is, according to the independent engineer, not it's not economically feasible to effect repairs to the building. So on that basis, the recommendation of staff, in my capacity as Director of Protective Services, to the Chief Administrative Officer was not to register the department, and that was the decision that ultimately was made by the CAO. Happy to take any questions that you may have, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Any questions from council on this at this point in time? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Cole, for that report. 3.2 is presentation of the Joggins Volunteer Fire Department. So as soon as Mr. Cole gets out of the way, we'll allow you to come up there, sir. Before we begin, if you would say who you are, state your name for the public record, and what in your capacity here today would be great, Mr. Reed.
I'm John Reed, member of the Joggins Fire Department. 41 years as thing in a long time. 41 years as member of the Joggins Fire Department. I'm here to represent the case the best I can. Unfortunately, I
Stop you just for a second before you get going. Normally, we would allow 15 minutes for your presentation. In the essence of fairness, I've timed Mr. Cole's presentation. I will allow you a max of 24 minutes, in case you need all the time, okay? I want to be fair to everybody here, so.
Yeah,
Okay?
well,
So if you want to take 24 minutes, you're more than welcome to do so.
well, I don't know if it'll take that long, but it would have been more fair if I had received this less than 24 hours ago. There's 100 pages of documentation, claims and thing, and we received this last night at 5 o'clock. So if I seemed unprepared today to give you all the answers, that's one of the reasons why. I don't think it was fair to have this dropped on us last night and have time to duly defend ourselves. I'm not the one in most cases here that's being accused of it or things, so I can't answer on behalf of other people, but I will try the best I can.
Awesome. We will wait, and you have the floor.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Like I said, I've been a member of the Joggins Fire Department for 41 years. I've run business in the community for 40 years, and I've been a member of council for 12 years. So I kind of sat on both sides of the fence at one time or another. I'm speaking today on regards to review of the decision not to renew registration of the Joggins Volunteer Fire Department for its services by the CAO as recommended by the Director of Fire Service. It starts off by saying that we cannot provide proper service to the area, but I believe that we can, in fact, do it. We are at a lower staff number than we'd like to be, but with the help of the mutual aid and from River Hibbert, we can continue to provide coverage. All our people were trained. They say we were not properly trained. All of our people have been constantly trained by the municipality of Cumberland. Every course we took, except for EHS courses, was put on by the municipality of Cumberland. We all took the same training. Here, Pugwash, Spring Hill, most of all our MFR courses, or level 1 courses, level 2 courses, they were put on by the municipality of Cumberland. So, not properly trained, I'm not sure where that comes from. And our certificates, like I say, came from MFR training was completed by the proper channels through the province, and almost all of our members have an MFR training. The first complaint is about the house fire that burnt on April 7th on Lower Main Street. I was there on that one, so I can answer fairly well on it. Because of the complaint, the municipality engaged Guttrose and Associations to review what had actually happened that night and provided a report. I read that report and word by word, and it is determined that nothing could have saved that house, but identified the department did not conform to recognized standards. It says that the incident command and firefighters did not conform to standards of incidents, skills, cooperation, documentations, and resources. The first fire truck landed on the scene in 3 or 4 minutes. A few minutes later, and on the first truck there were 3 people, and one of them was the chief. They started pulling out hoses, getting ready to fire, to put water on the fire and stuff. And I showed up, took over control of the pump and had water going very quickly. Soon the second trucks fell into place and the third. Yeah, maybe we didn't set up a big fancy incident command station and stuff like this, but we did what we did with 2 or 3 people, which is the way most county fire departments operate. When most departments called out to a small fire or to a fire of any size, other than the big towns, usually 1, 2, 3 people roll out the door. I listen to the radio every day on all the other fire departments. You never hear 3, 4, 5, 6 people responding. It's 1 person, 2 people in a truck. So when you get there, you do what you can with what you got. Another, like I said, unload and started to unload the hose prepared for the firefight. It was very obvious that the house, which was fully engulfed in flames at that time, could not be saved. I was running a pumping can, attested the fact that those guys did an excellent job of what they did had to work with the fire was on it, available until other trucks and firefighters arrived. The chief had to deal with irritations from individuals screaming and yelling that they weren't doing it right, taking pictures and getting in the way. Yes, he was helping to unload hoses at the beginning, but then that's the chief. But as with only 3 people available, men, why would we not be waiting for others to arrive? The report stated that the chief should have been manning command. Well, there was nobody on the scene to command at the time. There was shortly afterwards, and that's what he did. But he didn't go over there and stand and say, I'm the chief and I'm the commander, I ain't doing anything else till anybody else gets here. He went to work. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, and the house was well underway when we got there. Again, I emphasize that the consultant said the house could not have been saved by anybody. More importantly, the house next door, which is probably the largest house in Joggins, was being totally rained down on by sparks and debris. So we had to split up our crew and start putting water there to save that house. Also, the house directly across the road to our right, Purdy House, was being hit by sparks and stuff. So it mentions nowhere in that report that, yeah, the house burnt to the ground that you couldn't save when we got there, but we saved 2 other houses that night. So it wasn't as hillbilly as you like to make it out to be. And there was no mention of that throughout the report. Just picking apart the little things that were reviewed and taken seriously by the members to ensure they followed. The gentleman that owned the largest house and the member of the family of the house that burnt, the night he heard the fire department was going to be closed, come up knocking on my door, just screaming and hollering, county can't do that. Why, what kind of service are we going to have if you guys aren't here? Here's a guy that's supposed to be complaining about the houses that his daughter lost next to him and all this stuff, and yet he was just in a rage saying, so a lot of these complaints are not as deep as what you would think they are. And I mean, the job got done well, and it even mentioned in the report another house farther up on Harris Gravel Hill, which would be over a half kilometer away. How come we didn't set up a protection ring around that house? Well, the wind wasn't blowing that way, it wasn't anywhere near close. We didn't have to. Controlled burning. Prior to the burning, the chief had been in contact with the county and discussed it with DNR, and they were okay with the house being burnt. That's the one down on the controlled burn. After the fire, he was advised that there was complaints that it was determined that the membership had no further, we burnt the house down on thing, and yes, sparks did fly over on the neighbor's house and stuff, but also that house had many large bonfires in the yard leading up to that. Where all the damage came from, or supposedly came from, was undetermined. They had us there doing controlled burn in their yard prior to that. None of that is mentioned here. But anyway, we contacted the people that lived in the house on several times and asked them, if you got a problem, let us know what it is. If there's something burnt that's damaged, we'll pay for it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And they never came up with a price or any amount to the damage of the burn. So, but after that, we went at one of our meetings, we passed a motion that we would do no more controlled burning, whether it's grass fires, building burnings, whatever. Because of the liability and the danger, we don't do no more burning buildings. And by the way, municipality asked the Department of River Hibbert and Joggins to burn a house in River Hibbert years ago, and set across from the elementary school and stuff, and we burnt it to the ground. And we were, you know, that was okay because municipality asked us to burn it. Nothing was taken out of it, the roof wasn't gone off it, we burnt it to the ground under the direction of the municipality company.
Approximately when was that?
Uh,
I'm not gonna hold you to a
It was a
specific
while
date,
ago, but I'm gonna say 15, 17 years ago.
Okay.
The house was full of rats and was infecting, getting to the
I
schools.
was wondering if that was the one you were referring
That
to.
was the one I
so,
was referring
yeah,
to.
Okay,
And we decided to burn it to the ground. So,
thank you.
the grass fire incident, where there was a different, the incident was reported to the membership by the chief and deputy chief, but their version was different from the complaints. While there was empathy for the complainant's PTSD, they reported that the woman approached them screaming and yelling, and she had lost her son in a fire, and that was what was setting her off. Summerall said it was not out of control, but understood it may have looked scary as it was dark. The grass was long and the flames were fairly high. The fire reported there was no calming her down or reasoning with her. The decision was made again, and it was decided there would be no controllable burning on the thing. And her house, where she lives, would be almost, well, from here to out to the end of the road. There was a large field. It's owned by the fire department, which they were burning. There was a highway. There was the old fire hall, the new fire hall, 2 empty lots, a post office, and then their house. So, yes, I understand why the woman may have had a bad reaction to it, but there was no danger to her or anywhere of it getting there. The firemen were there. They had trucks. They were trying to do a controlled burn so the building, the church and the old church and stuff that was closer didn't catch fire. But she was halfway up Main Street, directly across from what used to be A&J Superette store is where she lived. So it was a fair amount of distance away. Could have been handled better or different, I don't know. I honestly wasn't there.
Right.
But this is the version that we got from it afterwards. And unfortunately, a lot of these events, I wasn't there and haven't had time to personally look into, because like I said, last night at 5 o'clock, we got this document. Fire inspection at the Joggins Fossil Center. On the day that this supposedly happened, the chief and the members who had just recently went into a new role with the department were at a community event, and that's why they were in their station uniforms. The chief thought it would be a good idea to take him down to the center to show him how the center was laid out. So in case there was a call, he'd be a bit familiar with it. He said upon arrival at the center, staff came directly to them and asked what they were doing there for, and that at no point did they say it was an inspection, but just a visit to show the new officer what the building looked like. They said they were friendly conversations with the staff and were surprised to hear the accusations. As for this, supposedly several years previously, they were not have been the same people. I do remember a former firefighter being a former employee of there and being fired for something, but it never came to the members' attention. Mr. LeBlanc was not present at the last visit, but from his complaint, it does sound that he did have previous issues with the former fire chiefs. But I agreed that calling ahead and asking permission to go to for them to go there would have been a better course. We and I was there, had met with the fire marshal at our hall right after that had happened, and he did not feel that inspection was ever done. He left the hall and went down to the Fossil Center and was going to talk to them, and he said if they had any further problems, he'd come back up and talk to us. He never came back and seemed to be quite satisfied with the explanation that we had given him. We were not there to do an inspection. We were there just to familiarize ourselves with the public, one of the larger buildings in the area, and be better prepared if there was a fire. And yes, a little bit notice would have been better. Allegations of improper conduct against, was the chief made aware of this allegation? I'm trying to figure out which one this one is. Of the drug, this was one for the drug abuse and stuff. I wasn't aware of this, and at the time, a few years ago, I was chief and had been deputy chief. It was mentioned that the complaint of the members smoking drugs off of duty or off the site and then going to work had happened. I have no knowledge of it. I can't defend or deny it. And I just was getting the documents last night. And I won't go into the details except because I have no first-hand knowledge. Criminal charges against the deputy chief report he had been in contact with the county. The chief had contacted, he'd been in contact with the county, and this was a version us as members were given, that Dylan was charged with a charge, and that they said it was okay for him to remain in his place until after the charges went to court. I'm not disputing Alan's version of it, because like I said, we as members were not made aware of it.
Okay.
And it said he was innocent until proven guilty. It was only fine. We're not municipality request members. The members, we are not questioning the municipality requested for members to take a leave of absence. Since then, he has resigned and no longer a member of the Joggins Fire Department. That's going to say, does the complainant, both the chief and the deputy chief, has personal issues offline, and yes, they did not, this was what the assault, I guess, I'm not the deputy chief and the chief together. I don't agree with their actions. I think they were inappropriate as a thing, but it wasn't in the line of firefighting. Yes, they were asked to step aside, and they decided to quit. So that should alleviate the problems that the two of them have put into the fire department since they've been there. They are no longer members. They've left. Yes, maybe more should be done, but you got to realize in fire departments, the chief and only the chief has the major power of how it's run and what goes on. And a lot of times we weren't made aware of what was going on. If the county had to call us in or come to a meeting and explain, some of the situations, then the membership could have took a vote on it. But if it never comes to your table, that's the same as if the mayor decides, well, I ain't going to tell these guys what's going on,
Right.
and you don't find out properly, you can't blame them for not acting. So we were behind the eight ball on that, and knowing the position of council or of the administration, we may have taken different action, but we feel like we're being held back from from doing our duties for something we weren't totally aware of. I'm not saying we weren't aware of any of it, but we were.
That's right.
I'm going to go to some of the other things besides the complaints. The departments are only 5.9 kilometers apart. That is true. And it's distracting to a lot of people because River Hibbert's department goes all the way out to Macan. We go all the way to Sand River on this side. And yes, we both respond to the same number of calls because we need both fire departments to handle most of the calls. Not all of them, or a lot of them, if you got anything major. And when we respond between 150 and 175 calls a year. We're busy fire departments. But we've gone to a lot of calls in River Hibbert in the last year and a half, 2 years, been on scene, handled the scene thing without River Hibbert being there. And sometimes they show up later, something. And River Hibbert, don't get me wrong, River Hibbert is an excellent fire department. Don't ever think I'm putting them down. I'm not.
No, I'm not taking it that way. No.
They, a lot of their members work in town and aren't around in the daytime. We've had calls in Joggins where we've got called for mutual aid and didn't get it. We've gone to River Hibbert and handled the whole situation on several occasions, and River Hibbert wasn't there. And a lot of times it came in late, and that can be tracked down through the dispatch desk and stuff. Back, it's a couple of years ago now, and I'll mention his name because he was a firefighter. Jordy Rector had a large fire at his property. His shed and his barn and everything was all on fire. Me, Chris, and another member of the Joggins Fire Department pulled up with one fire truck from Joggins. We fought that fire, got it knocked down, had a second truck from Joggins come out, finished it, put it down, and it was starting to catch on his house, the siding, and that all melted off his house, had everything down. River Hibbert showed up 40 to 45 minutes later. Again, not their fault. If you're not there, you can't respond. But that is the real situation in the area. And that's why we need one another. We have the best of both worlds. They can take off and start to attack a fire knowing we're coming right behind them. They don't have to wait now, like they do now for Amherst or Southampton, come all the way in. Right. And it's worked well over the years. In the last 10 years, I've seen 5 cardiac arrests happen in Joggins and survived, the 5 of them. It wouldn't have happened if we had, somebody had to go out to River Hibbert, take that extra 5, 10 minutes, and go out to River Hibbert and come back with a vehicle. Because we were there in the community, on the spot, there was at least 5 saves that I personally was there and witnessed and been part of. It just won't happen when the fire department's out at River Hibbert. And to, you know, we knew at some point down the road there was going to be a new fire hall built down home, and nobody ever really expected to. But I think it would have been beneficial, instead of just coming in, cleaning us out in a flash and not giving us a word's notice, to sit down, come sit down. The chiefs were gone, the deputy chief was gone. Somebody from this office could have come down and sit down and had a real hard fact-to-fact case and say, you know, how can we phase this in to work with River Hibbert and Joggins and have it become one unit at the end. We were always hoping that when they built the new River Hibbert Hall, it'd be built further uphill, closer to Joggins, so that would be thing. No one's, for the last 10 years, has expected that there would ever be 2 new halls built down there. So, but this way here, and as it is now, you know, I don't think, honestly, each can do what they want, but I don't think any members of Joggins Fire Department are going to go join River Hibbert. They just have had enough of it this way. And I mean, they all speak for themselves, and I
That's fair.
definitely don't blame them. If they want to go or don't want to go, that's up to them. Yep. I'm 71 years old and rather sit home and do other things, so I doubt if I'll be going down the road. But, and that's the reason, not because River Hibbert isn't a good fire department, they are. So, other than that, I don't know what else to say, except I wish, if you really want to hear the story or what are the importance of the Joggins Fire Department, you should have left it. It should have been a public meeting where people could have stood up and told their own stories and stuff like that. And I said, I wish I had had more time to give you a better presentation of what's going on, but I didn't even get to read through all of it and write down my replies, but it seemed like it was orchestrated that we didn't get to have a chance to have a fair say. So, I mean, there's no reason this couldn't have been mailed to us last week, instead of 5 o'clock last night after calling and requesting it again. So, I guess I'll leave it up to you guys, and I wish you look at it through a different version of providing a service to the community. It doesn't matter both the Joggins Fire River Hibbert Department. I think both communities are going to lose if we're not there, and we can provide a service, and that's what it's all about. Tax dollars, you're not going to save a lot of money by combining this into one. You are going to need more trucks and more equipment in River Hibbert, but and building a new hall, that is nice. I hope River Hibbert gets their new hall, but I never seen a building put out a fire yet. No, it's got to have manpower and dedication in it. So, and yes, they're well overdue for a new hall, and I hope they get it and they can better provide for the service.
There may be some questions from council to you, Mr. Reed, so I afforded that opportunity to Mr. Cole. I'll now afford it to you. So if council has any questions on anything, the other thing that before we start, you typed up your response, you were flipping through some pages there. Yeah. Are you okay with us having a copy of that as part of our deliberations going forward? Well, no, I can get Amanda to make a copy and hand it right back to you if that's okay with you, so, is that okay, Amanda? Can you, go make a copy of that? Yeah, that's fine, we're good. Are you okay with that, or? Yeah, okay.
I had made a bunch of handwritten notes, but I can't read my own writing.
Actually, we'll get it right after the question period.
Yeah, no,
Because Amanda, I just realized Amanda's running all the microphones too, so if
Okay.
somebody wants to start to ask something, so. Okay, so questions or comments from council? I see a green light over there, Councillor Strong, you have the floor, go ahead.
I have a question. How many active firefighters do you have that have their level 1 certification?
I'm gonna guess, but I'm gonna say 4 or 5 right now.
And what are their roles in the department?
They're regular firefighters. They're, like I said, they're level 1 firefighters.
Are they deputy chief?
No. we don't-
Captains?
We don't have a deputy chief anymore, we don't have a chief anymore.
No captains?
We have 1 captain
Okay,
Councillor Strong,
left.
thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Lee, I will ask, remind you again, the questions come through me this way.
Your worship.
Okay? Thank you,
Your worship,
go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming and speaking. This has been, it's been interesting and it's been heartbreaking. So those of you who continue to show up and continue to do the things, I do appreciate you and I see you. I think I just wanted to acknowledge and share that providing a service, if that is the core of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and if people are passionate about this role and this job, you know, looking at all this and having to make a decision is extremely hard. I just know that good firefighters and volunteers, eventually when space allows, I hope, you know, I hope we're all able to move forward in the community. Your worship?
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee. Mr. Reid, do you have any comment to that? Allow you to speak?
No, not really, it's just that, like, you know, it's the people that are gonna suffer, and like I said, we've had it, even though it looks like we're here and here, we've had the best of both worlds, and it's not gonna cost a whole lot. We're not asking you, the building that we're housing the fire department right now, we're not asking you to build a new building or restructure it. It isn't gonna fall down the next 20 years. All the last building reports over the last 5-10 years said it was in fairly good shape for the age. We requested $6,000 to fix that foundation problem and stuff, and then it just got denied and turned over and stuff. It looks bad, but that's the other thing. They say it's a load-bearing beam. It's not, and I prove it. I didn't bring. I also have a picture. There was a set of double doors there. There used to be a show hall. It wasn't a load-bearing beam. It was just put up afterwards. Right. So, you know, the building is not going to fall down. It's 150 years old. It's probably going to be there another 50 years from now. Yes, it needs some work, but we're not asking you to keep it open for another 150 years. Another year or two until you find $3.8 million to build a new one in River. And I know budgets are tight. Like I said, I honestly hope they get their new hall. But it would cost minimal to keep us going to help service the people in both communities. And that's.
I'd like to thank you for your time today, Mr. Reid, and I certainly appreciate you stepping up and coming here and telling us everything that you've told us. You know, it doesn't go unnoticed by any stretch of the imagination. And I know that over the next few days, council will be, obviously, as we have been for the last period of time, putting a lot of thought into all of this, which is why I was concerned with having your stuff, answers back that we could circulate to council too, as part of the process, as obviously everything else has been circulated to council in the last few days, so.
Yeah.
And then we expect that we'll make a decision at some point, probably in the next week to 10 days.
Just remember, 90% of the problems that were created here or involved here are gone. They're not there anymore, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, have any questions of clarification for Director Cole or the CAO regarding the process, policy, compliance, or interpretation of this? Councilor Ribbon.
To John.
Oh, sorry. Well, we can-
That's fine.
I didn't notice that you had your light on, sorry. That's my
I
fault.
didn't put my light on. I'm going back a few years.
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry. Sit down again, please.
Through the chair,
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank John for his 41 years of dedication to his community and to the outlying communities. And I want to thank him for the 12 years that he put on council. He was a good representative, and he knows what we went through when we started changing the format for the fire departments. Our decisions were hard and not always making everybody happy, but they've worked out good for us now and for our volunteers. And again, thank you to all of the volunteers. But I also want to say, I know you're 71, I'm 75, but if I could be a volunteer fireman or firefighter, I would, because you're one of the most important roles that there is in our county. And if this was to happen in a department that I was in, I wouldn't say that I wasn't going to be a firefighter. I would go to another department, because if you're a firefighter, you're a true firefighter, and you will do your volunteering at whatever location you can. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Redmond. Thank you very much, Mr. Reid. No one else? We're good? The recommended motion, 3.4, is that the final decision with respect to the review of the CAO's decision not to renew the registration of the Joggins Volunteer Fire Department be placed on the agenda of the regular municipal council meeting of November 26, 2025. If someone would like to make that motion, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gould, seconded by Councilor Fromm. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. 3.5, I would ask for a motion to go in camera, please, so that we may discuss all that we've heard today while it is still fresh in our memories. Moved by Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Lockhart. We are going to go in camera, which now means that we have to empty out the room. Yep. And we get that thing from Mr. Reid if you can, and we'll get a copy of that.